Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Callie, and today I am going to be going over my top 6 favorite fantasy duologies. I did another video similar to this on fantasy standalones. I'll link that one down below. Duologies have actually become a lot more popular in the past couple of years from what I've noticed, and I really like duologies because I don't have to wait as long for the next book, and usually I find that duologies wrap up really nicely. There have been a couple that I've read that wrap up way too quickly and would have benefited from a third book, but the ones I'm going to talk about today are, in my opinion, just some of my favorite and most well done duologies. So to start off, I have an adult duology called Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This follows 2 young men in college who are trying to basically give themselves superpowers by dying. And I really love this duology because we start off with these 2 young men in college, and then we follow them 10 years later, and they are no longer best friends, but just straight up enemies. And you get that dual timeline as you watch those converge and see what has happened to create that animosity. And what I think I really loved about this is both characters think that they are the most correct and they are doing what is good, but actually it's so morally ambiguous and you don't even know as the reader, like, I don't know, maybe you're right, but I don't know, you have a couple of good points. And it almost feels like the beginning of the X-Men where society is like, no, kill them all. No one deserves powers or anything. Just murder them all, hide them. So both of them are going about dealing with that society in very different ways. And I loved it. It was so amazing. The dual timeline is phenomenal. It doesn't take away from the main plot of the story. And our main character, Victor, is one of my favorite morally gray characters I have ever read. The next duology that I have is East by Edith Pattou. This is a story of the girl and the polar bear, and that is a Norse story, I believe, which is actually one of the inspirations for the original Beauty and the Beast. So it follows a girl, Rose, who a polar bear comes up to her family one day and is like, I'll save your entire family if you come with me. And she's like, okay, good talk. And she goes with this polar bear and he takes her to his castle home. I think it's a castle in the mountain. And she starts to realize that something's a little off because the talking polar bear wasn't enough. And this story is so beautiful and I love Rose. She is a very well done belle. She is extremely independent. You get a lot more of her family. One of the perspectives you get is Rose's brother, who actually tries to go and rescue her. And I really liked that aspect. And then we have a lot of this Norse mythology intertwined into the story. And we get these like little bedtime stories throughout the book that fill in some gaps on this world. And I love it. The sequel is West, and we follow West about, I think it's 3 or 4 years after the events of East. This is written in a way that almost feels like it's written in poetry. It's not. It is written as a narrative, but it feels like poetry. So if you're not big into poetry, I would steer clear of this. But if you love Beauty and the Beast retellings and the lyrical writing, I highly recommend. These books are amazing and beautiful, and I love them. I give both 5 stars. The next series that I have is The Rhyme Chronicles, with book 1 being Onyx and Ivory by Mindee Arnett. In this duology, we follow Kate, who is the daughter of a trader. And that is honestly one of my favorite tropes. I love the children of trader tropes because there is so much angst and so much miscommunication, but to the point of where, you know, you wouldn't tell a child these things. So the miscommunication makes sense and it doesn't agitate me. So we follow Kate in the aftermath of her father. She is trying to stay very, very clear away from the capital because they call her Trader Kate. And she just doesn't want to deal with that anymore, rightfully so. But when the prince, her ex boyfriend, I guess is the best way to describe it, ends up getting injured on the road. She saves his life and is welcomed back into the city. Kinda. Welcomed back is a loose term. So she has to deal with all of these feelings coming back up. And while she's in the capital, she decides to figure out what happened. What made her father become a traitor? What did he do? Because she still, to this day, has no idea what he did to get executed. She was just told he's a traitor, and that is it. So she really wants to try and figure out what happened. And as she does, she unravels a lot of different things politically. There's a magic system in this that is so well done. I love the magic system. Plus, Kate, growing up as being called Traitor Kate, is not necessarily a good person. She is a good person to a degree, but she is morally gray, and I love morally gray characters. And she takes it to the point of where throughout this series, one of the main themes is people with magic abusing their power. And it's really cool and really well done, because even Kate's just like, well, I have this magic, I'm gonna go do the thing. And other people are like, you shouldn't do the thing. Don't do the thing. The thing is bad. She's like, but I can do the thing, therefore I'll do the thing. And it's a whole thing. I'm gonna say thing about 400 times. It's so well done, and I really like that those questions are addressed, because there are a lot of times in fantasy worlds where the question of how much power is too much power is never really addressed. It's like, well, those people have power. We hope they don't murder us. And I really like how that is addressed in this duology. Next, I have This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is another V.E. Schwab, same author of Vicious. This is just her young adult name. She has 400 different names, but it's all the same author. This Savage Song follows August and Kate. August and Kate. August is a monster who works his magic through music. And Kate is a monster hunter. This world, when people die, they don't really die. They come back as one of 3 types of monsters. We have like this weird conglomeration of flesh type of monster. We have the vampiric type of monster, and we have the musically inclined monster, which is the worst of the 3. So August is that kind of monster, and Kate is hell-bent on getting revenge. And they meet, and things happen. This book is so good. I really want to reread this. I read this book this series 2 or 3 years ago, and to the point where I finished book 1, I drove 45 minutes to the nearest bookstore to where I was at the time to buy the second book, because Amazon was not going to be fast enough. 2-day shipping wasn't enough. I needed it right then. So if that's any indication as to how amazing this duology is, it is extremely lyrical. The world is so unique and just fascinating to read about. The different types of monsters, you actually get to interact with them and understand their story and how they died, how they became monsters, and how they were reborn. And Kate, her whole revenge story is phenomenal, and I love it. The next duology I have is Everless by Sara, Holland. In this world, your time on Earth is currency. They can take out your blood, figure out how long you're gonna live, and you pay with your life, quite literally. It gives a whole different meaning with it costs an arm and a leg. So we follow a girl whose father is dying, and they have been living in poverty. He is down to a couple of days, weeks. She's actually unsure because he refuses to tell her. So she takes a job in Everless, which is our capital. And he has always told her that if she ever goes to Everless, her life is in such danger, but he never told her why. So she goes to Everless and starts to unravel all of these things and starts to figure out why they left Everless to begin with. And you just unravel this plot. The plot twists in this, they are amazing. I really enjoyed this series, these 2 books. They were very fun. I loved the time is currency concept. I think it was really well done. The finale was okay, not my favorite finale, but I still think that this duology deserves to be on this list. And the last duology that I have is Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart. This duology follows two sisters in a society where it is illegal for women to read. So we have one sister whose whole life goal is to become a Grace, which is basically a consort to the king. And during the prince's first choosing ceremony, both sisters are invited to potentially become Graces. But when he picks the sister who knows how to read instead of the pliant sister, everything kind of gets upended. The pliant sister ends up getting accused of being able to read and is sent to this women's prison island where they basically shove all of the independent women. And she finally gets to learn, like, that, okay, maybe I shouldn't have been so pliant. I am a person. I deserve to be heard. Whereas the other sister, who already kind of had that independent mentality, has to tread very carefully because her new whole goal is to go to this prison island and save her sister because she feels extremely guilt-ridden. This is such a feminist story, and I was living for it. It's not a well-known duology, but I highly recommend it. It is not very long, and it's 2 books. It's 2 books. Really enjoy this. The banter is amazing, and the prison island is so cool, and I loved that concept. It was so well done. So those are 6 duologies that I've read that I've really enjoyed. I have a list of 3 duologies that I really want to get to soon. There are still a couple where I've only read book 1, and I'm still working on getting to book 2. For those, so I didn't want to include any of those on this list, but I am going to go through my top 3 duologies that I want to get to. The first one being Warcross by Marie Lu. This follows a hacker who ends up hacking into this famous game called Warcross and gets caught by the creator, who then hires her to figure out there is some bad thing happening that he wants her to backhack and hacking things. But I've heard really good things about this duology. It sounds really fun. I've heard that the main character is hysterical. And I've been really into the sci-fi technology type of books lately, so I think that this will help me continue on that trend. The next book that I have is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This came out last year. This is a 1800s vampire story set in New Orleans. And that is all I kind of wanted to know. Vampires are kind of making a comeback, and they're not these sparkly, fluffy vampires. They're real bloodthirsty vampires, and I really want to get back into them after Twilight ruined them for me for a while. So I really want to get to this one, and I've heard really good things about this duology. And the last one that I have is another duology by Renee Ahdieh, and that is The Wrath and the Dawn. This is a retelling of, I believe it's 1001 Arabian Nights, where we follow a girl who is in this world. The king chooses a bride every night, and she is killed the next morning. So we follow our main character who wants to get revenge on the king after he kills her best friend. I've heard that this is one of the best romantic fantasy stories out there, and I really want to get to it and experience that for myself. Plus, I've really been into the Middle Eastern inspired stories, such as City of Brass, We Hunt the Flame, and other ones like that. I find them extremely interesting, and I love the lore and the history that go along with it. So I'm very excited to get to this one. Those are the duologies that I plan on hopefully getting to soon. We shall see. And the top 6 duologies that I recommend you guys read. If you have any that you think I should have mentioned or ones that I should read, please let me know down below in the comments. I need to just add to my ever-growing TBR. It's a fact of life. So thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. All of our links can be found down below in the description, and I will see you guys in our next one. Bye!